It's getting harder and harder to pretend Meghan Markle's so-called fairy tale hasn't morphed into something that feels ripped from a reality show. And not the glamorous kind. The smiles, the magazine covers, the carefully curated appearances, they're all still there. But behind that polished facade, there's a storm brewing, one that no amount of PR polish can hide anymore. Whispers have turned into rumors, and those rumors are starting to sound a lot like the truth. Meghan Markle might already be planning her next move, a move that doesn't include Prince Harry. If you've ever sensed that something's been off about this royal love story, you're not alone, and you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button, because the truth behind the headlines is finally surfacing, and it's not what the palace or Meghan want you to see. Let's be honest. Harry, once dubbed the world's most eligible bachelor, is now being seen in a far less flattering light. These days, he's not the charming, bold prince who captured hearts across the globe. No, now he's more often described as the withdrawn redhead with fading influence, reduced to peddling jam, giving awkward interviews, and playing second fiddle in a life that feels less like royalty and more like damage control. Without an official role or royal title that holds any real power, Harry has become more of a curiosity than a figure of importance. A man cut off, financially and emotionally, from the world that once worshipped him. And Meghan? Well, Meghan appears to be over it. At least, that's the growing sentiment among those observing her recent moves. She expected something different when she married Harry. A lot different. According to insiders and commentators alike, Meghan believed she was stepping into a life of castles, crown jewels, staff at her beck and call, and all the luxury that comes with marrying into royalty. Instead, she found herself in Montecito, California, with a husband worth only a few million, a severed link to the royal bank account, and a growing need to monetize every moment for the public eye. What Meghan thought would be a billionaire lifestyle turned out to be something much less. And now it seems she's recalibrating her future. People close to the couple have quietly shared that Meghan's recent public appearances, especially the ones where she's grinning just a little too hard at wealthy men in luxury circles, feel less like PR tours and more like auditions. She's been showing up at high-end galas, elite summits, and investor panels, not alongside Harry, but often solo or with handlers. And she's not just attending, she's mingling, connecting, locking eyes with men who can bankroll private jets without blinking. From the outside, it's looking less like a marriage and more like a campaign, one where Meghan is the product and billionaires are the target market. Meanwhile, Harry is becoming a background character in his own story. The prince who once defied royal traditions and captivated a generation now seems like an accessory, the plus one in Meghan's relentless pursuit of influence, wealth, and reinvention. Insiders say the emotional connection between them has grown thin. The chemistry that once sparked media frenzy now looks like obligation wrapped in awkward smiles, but Meghan hasn't walked away publicly. Not yet, because she's still searching for her next chapter. A chapter that, according to some reports, involves not just ambition, but calculated steps towards securing a new partner. Not just anyone, a billionaire. Let's not sugarcoat it. It's not exactly easy to find a billionaire willing to step into the chaos that trails Meghan Markle. She brings fame, yes, but she also brings lawsuits, failed ventures, PR disasters, and a relentless spotlight. Some say that doesn't matter to her, that she still believes her next chapter lies in marrying up again. Others say she's just trying to survive a collapsing empire. One particularly damning report claimed that Meghan has flirted openly with wealthy men at events, completely unfazed by Harry's presence. That's not just cold, that's calculated. And while some might chalk it up to charisma or networking, others see it as a sign that Meghan is emotionally detached from her marriage. Even in the private, insulated world of Montecito, the whispers are growing louder. Neighbors, many of whom are Hollywood A-listers and tech millionaires, have reportedly begun gossiping behind her back. They see the rebranding attempts, the curated Instagram moments, the cooking clips, and charity photo ops, and they're not buying it. Instead, they laugh. Because the woman who once seemed poised to redefine royalty now seems stuck, chasing attention, status, and validation that always slips through her fingers. Behind her empowerment speeches and brand-building efforts, many see the same old playbook: marry up, spin the narrative, rinse and repeat. One insider even claimed that Meghan hasn't changed at all. She's just gone back to who she was before Harry, an ambitious actress hunting for the next big gig, the next spotlight, the next opportunity to level up, and the cracks are starting to show. Not just publicly, but inside her own circle. Once fiercely loyal, some of Meghan's closest allies are now the very people feeding stories to tabloids. These aren't random anonymous sources. These are people who once helped shape her image, who stood by her when she accused the royal family of mistreatment, who defended her every move. Now, they're done pretending, and they're not holding back. This shift didn't happen overnight. It's the result of one flop after another, each more humiliating than the last. The Spotify deal, once touted as a major win for the Sussex brand, collapsed in a PR mess. The Netflix show, once hyped as a groundbreaking inside look into their lives, was exposed as little more than a carefully edited illusion. Even the most recent attempt to carve out a niche, Meghan's jam and jelly business, is reportedly drying up. The market didn't bite, neither did her audience. And then came the pineapple video. In what was supposed to be a cutting room gem from her Netflix footage, Meghan shared a moment of herself slicing a pineapple. That's right, a pineapple. It was pitched as a charming, relatable clip, but the internet saw something else. A tone-deaf, painfully forced attempt at authenticity. What should have felt down to earth came off like a parody. Even media hosts joked about it, with one even suggesting it looked like she was signaling swingers, thanks to the pineapple's suggestive symbolism. Another quipped that Meghan should never be allowed to override her producers again. The problem wasn't the fruit. It was what the moment revealed. Meghan's sense of what people want, what feels real, is out of touch. Every gesture, every clip, every message feels curated, calculated, and hollow. Her one-pot pasta recipe, a direct copy of something Martha Stewart did years ago. The inspirational stories she repeats in every interview, polished, predictable, and worn thin. And now, even Hollywood, the one place where reinvention is normally embraced, is distancing itself. Big names who once posed with her, applauded her, or at least tolerated her presence, have gone silent. Brooke Shields, who once shared the stage with Meghan, recently cracked a joke on a podcast about Meghan's infamous 11-year-old letter to Procter & Gamble. The same story Meghan has used to craft her public image for years. The room erupted in laughter. It wasn't just funny, it was telling, because what landed wasn't the punchline, it was the truth behind it. The idea that Meghan's story feels less like real-life empowerment and more like a tired act. 1. She refuses to stop performing even as the audience slips out the back door. Meanwhile, Prince Harry, remember him, is being dragged along like a prop. The rebellious royal who once walked behind his mother's coffin and later defied royal protocol for love is now being called the Duke of Waffle House, and not affectionately. His presence at events feels like obligation. His personality, once fiery, now subdued. A man slowly fading into the background of a narrative that no longer belongs to him. And let's not ignore the deeper irony here. Meghan built her personal brand on empowerment, independence, and modernity. But now, her image is more aligned with something else entirely: manipulation, repetition, and strategic desperation. She wanted to break free from the royal machine. Instead, she's built a new one that's arguably even more controlling, only this time she's the one at the wheel. And the public, they're not interested in riding along anymore. In a world where authenticity is the currency of relevance, Meghan's brand feels bankrupt, and that's the real danger. Not the tabloid headlines, not the mean tweets, but the slow creeping irrelevance that comes when the spotlight turns somewhere else. Because the thing about fame is, it's only valuable if people care. And Meghan's recent moves suggest she's still fighting to stay center stage, even as the curtain starts to fall. As the curtain keeps slipping, the people Meghan once counted on, allies, insiders, even close acquaintances, have begun stepping away. And they're not doing it quietly. In fact, some of the loudest whispers now come from those who once helped craft her carefully maintained image: the stylists, the PR assistants, the event coordinators. Some have started leaking details to outlets like the Daily Mail, fueling the very headlines Meghan used to dismiss as tabloid fiction. But the sources aren't anonymous neighbors anymore. These are people who were once on the inside, and now they're done playing defense. According to one such leak, Meghan hasn't evolved at all. She's simply reverted. back to the person she was before Harry, an actress chasing the next big stage, the next wealthy producer, the next man with deeper pockets. The Cinderella story is cracking, and it's not just the glass slipper that's missing, it's the whole illusion. And speaking of illusions, Meghan's so-called rebranding attempts are becoming more transparent and less successful by the week. From curated Pinterest-style cooking videos to overly posed photo ops in modest clothing, the message is clear. She's trying to seem normal. But people aren't buying it, because nothing Meghan does feels normal. It feels like a pitch, a performance, a desperate attempt to control a narrative that no longer serves her. Even the royals, yes, the very family she escaped from, seem more composed by comparison. Meghan wanted to be the symbol of modern monarchy. Instead, she's become a cautionary tale. What happens when you trade loyalty for leverage and image for impact? Hollywood has always been a place of reinvention. Stars fade, reboot, and shine again. But Meghan's problem isn't just bad press, it's reputation fatigue. People aren't canceling her, they're tuning her out. The headlines don't spark outrage anymore, they spark eye rolls. It's not hate, it's exhaustion. A kind of collective shrug that says, we've seen this movie before, and the sequel's worse. Even Oprah, once her biggest champion, has gone silent. So have the Obamas, whose once friendly ties with Meghan and Harry were a cornerstone of their stateside strategy. Those connections, once powerful, have quietly faded, and in elite circles, silence speaks volumes. These people don't need to say anything. Their absence is the message. And if you listen closely, the message is loud and clear. Meghan Markle has become a risk. Too much baggage, too much drama, too many headlines that come with more cost than benefit. In a world where reputation is currency, Meghan's stock is slipping fast. Meanwhile, back in Montecito, even her neighbors are reportedly mocking her behind her back. One leak claimed she's trying to reintroduce herself as just a normal woman. But it's hard to pull off normal when everything you do screams performance. When even your pineapple cutting tutorial becomes a viral meme. When the same story about writing a childhood letter gets recycled for the 1000th time. At some point, even the most loyal audiences stop clapping. And through it all, Harry seems lost. Once the bold, sometimes brash prince who broke the mold, he now appears more like a passenger than a partner. He's being dragged to events, cut out of decisions, and portrayed as the sad-eyed husband with no say in what comes next. It's hard to watch. The man who once symbolized freedom from royal stuffiness now looks like he's drowning in a different kind of trap. One made of curated Instagram posts, awkward public appearances, and the slow erasure of his own voice. He was supposed to find freedom. Instead, he found another kind of cage. And here's the final twist, the one that really cuts through the noise. The very people Meghan wanted so badly to impress have moved on. The billionaires, the power brokers, the gatekeepers of elite society, they're no longer returning. Her calls, not out of cruelty, but calculation, because in those circles, reputation is everything. And Meghan's name, it no longer guarantees value, it signals volatility. She doesn't bring stability, prestige, or influence. She brings headlines, yes, but not the kind that high-powered CEOs or legacy-building billionaires want attached to their brands. Every room she enters now, she carries controversy like a shadow. Every event she attends, there's a media storm waiting to follow, and the elite are over it. That's why Oprah has gone quiet. That's why the Obamas are keeping their distance. That's why even once sympathetic celebrities are throwing shade. Not because Meghan is evil, but because they're tired. Tired of the drama. Tired of the performative persona. Tired of the constant spin. It's not cancel culture. It's credibility fatigue. People aren't attacking Meghan anymore. They're just done pretending. That's what makes it worse. The media machine she once controlled, through expertly managed interviews, Netflix specials, and hand-picked magazine spreads, is slipping out of her hands. Because the one thing no PR strategy can overcome is apathy. When the world stops caring, the spotlight doesn't dim. It dies. And now, everyone's asking, what's next? Will Meghan make the bold move and walk away from Harry, finally securing the billionaire lifestyle she always envisioned? Will she disappear quietly, rebranding yet again for a new audience, a new identity, a new narrative? Or will she keep clinging to a script that's long since lost its audience, hoping that one last headline, one last project will bring her back into the light? Whatever happens, one thing is clear: the fairy tale is over. The castle has crumbled. The crown has tarnished, and no amount of jam jars, lifestyle blogs, or pineapple tutorials is going to fix it. Meghan Markle wanted to be unforgettable, and now, for all the wrong reasons, she is. If you've made it this far, you see the cracks that others miss. This story isn't over. Not by a long shot. Subscribe now and stay tuned. Because the next chapter, it's already being written. And trust us, it's going to be even messier than the last.